Hey everybody, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jason. As always, so glad to see you. Happy go lucky, Jason, always. And, anyone who browses our YouTube channel would know you look right into those happy, smiley eyes that he puts on every thumbnail. It's just consistent. Consistent, Jason. Always glad to see it. Glad to be here. It's getting closer and closer until I can wear a jacket, which is a great time of year. We're getting towards the end of 2022, which is crazy.
I think it's just going to be like 3 days in January going
Yeah,
forward when we wear jackets.
yeah, like real quick. It's been a
Yeah.
hot year. It's been a hot here in Texas. It's been a hot year. I'm sure it's been hot for you as well. Summer was hot. Winter seems a kind of unwinterish right now.
Yeah, they put out projections about what the winter's going to be like given the weather, wind patterns, and all that. And
Yeah,
I think our area is going to be a little warmer than normal, which I'll take. So
yeah.
during the wind.
I know you don't. I'm not. I know you're not a big fan of the winter. You don't like. No, it's the summer. The summer is
No,
what you
it's
don't like,
both.
right?
It's both these
It's both.
days.
You
Yeah,
just don't like.
it's
You don't like the climate.
I really like it when it's like 65 to 75 degrees
Oh,
outside.
sure. Oh, yeah.
And
I understand
I'm
that.
trying to structure my life where it is always that way, no matter what time of year it is. And we'll see if I can get there.
Just
But
follow
yeah, that's
that.
my goal. Yeah.
Follow that proper temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Living the best life there for sure. Well, Jason, I would like to take this opportunity to let everybody know that this show is sponsored by optio.com/PSP. That is the special URL that you can use to get a 8-week, that's 2-month free trial. So I'll speak directly to the people that are going to benefit from this the most. Those of you that have been listening to this podcast for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 years, not 20, 7 years. If you have been continually investing in Google Ads and you're trying to gather data, you're trying to understand and improve your campaign, this tool is made for you. It is made for those that are trying to find every little corner they can cut to carve off a little more profitability. This tool is designed to help you find those shortcuts to success. It's going to say, hey, did you see this? There's a shortcut straight to better profitability right here. Click the button, shows you the data, you implement the changes, as well as tons of other features. You're going to love it. Optio, that's optio.com/PSP. There is a link in the description for you to check it out.
Thanks, Chris. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about small business owners on Google Ads. And we've come up with a 5-step Google Ads checklist, a very simple checklist. So small business owners can look at their account and get a sense of how they are doing through the eyes of a Google Ads professional like Chris and myself. Chris, the idea for this episode came from a very specific scenario that happens quite a bit with me, where a small business owner will reach out to me, and some of them understand the value of what a Google Ads professional can do. They understand where they're at in their account, and they know they need help. Other small business owners come to me and they say, hey, I think I could use your help. I don't really know if I can because I think things are going pretty good. And then I look inside their account and they're not going good, like that much at all compared to what we can do. They're going okay, but they could get a whole lot better. And they don't even realize it because they don't know what areas to look out for to kind of show a big level of improvement in their account. So I wanted to cover those areas in a very simple and easy to kind of go check your account way. But have you run into that scenario where some small business owners have some kind of sense that they could probably use your help, but they don't really understand kind of the level of improvement they have sitting right there in front of them if they want to take it?
Yeah. The thing that I think best describes this is they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
When you don't look as many at as many accounts as Jason and I look at, you have no sense of your bearings, right? If you don't travel outside of your immediate area, you don't know that it's not 101 degrees all the time. You realize some places are much more pleasant during the summer. So you don't know that your account is actually doing very bad. You have some absolute destructive habits as far as the types of keywords you're choosing, the settings that you're choosing, or maybe you're doing phenomenally well. And I think the questions we're going to go through in this episode will help people kind of gauge, like, okay, am I sitting on a gold mine here, or am I sitting on some other kind of mine that's just full of something else? I think that's the question you should be asking yourself here, because the idea is every click you get costs money, and if you aren't doing it efficiently, you are literally burning through money and losing opportunity. So you're spending money and losing opportunity. That's a double whammy there. So yeah, and I'm ready to jump right in.
Yeah, and I think the situation, sometimes they've even worked with professionals in the past and it didn't go well with maybe an agency who didn't know what they were doing. And then what they've done themselves with like a few broad match keywords, just something very simple, is working a whole lot better, but they don't know things can
They
actually
don't
even
know.
get
Yeah.
better than that. So let's start off with the first item here on this small business owner checklist. And I'm going to say this is the checklist item, Chris. Are you tracking all your leads, and do you know your true overall cost per conversion?
Hmm.
Do you think that's a fair item to put on this checklist to kind of tell small business owners, to give them an idea if they could improve? Like, my point is, if you don't know what your cost per lead is, then how can you say you're doing good at Google Ads? Do you think that's too harsh, or do you think that's the right way to think about it?
No, I think I mean that is absolutely baseline of knowing whether you're moving or not, whether or not you are actually hitting any kind of bullseye or any kind of marker of success is tracking leads. So there's varying success levels of that. You can have people that are just tracking phone calls, people that are just tracking forms, and then we get into actual, and this is the exact question you pose: are you tracking all leads? So if you're tracking all leads, then you can actually determine how much you're paying per conversion. And that is the starting point of actually having an educated idea of where you stand on Google Ads. Because if you're selling t-shirts and you know that you get a new t-shirt sale, once a week, and you know that your cost per conversion is about $500 per conversion, you now know that you are losing money here. You're losing opportunity. You're losing money. Simple as that. So the first marker of, can you improve, would have to be how much you're spending for one sale or one
Yeah.
lead or whatever you're
And
looking for.
you can get really good Google Ads results without all conversion tracking in place. You just focus on your search terms and make sure you're getting in front of people who are looking for what you offer. But to me, it's pretty easy to set up your conversion tracking, and it's so important these days, in my opinion, given the stuff like Performance Max and the broad keywords and the automated bidding, that you really have to feed this machine some good data. That good data can come from conversion tracking. And if you don't have that in place, you're just kind of leaving a lot of success on the table. So if you don't have it in place, what's the easy fix? And Chris, I'm going to say the easy fix is Google Tag Manager. It's one piece of code. You put it on your site, and then you can put your conversion codes inside the Tag Manager on the back end. I like that because all you have to do is add one piece of code to the site. Um, Chris, do you think that's a good fix for business owners, a good area to focus on when it comes to conversion tracking, the Tag Manager?
It absolutely is. I mean, that's usually the problem is, okay, you guys have helped me to realize that I'm not tracking conversions. I don't know how much I'm paying for leads. I don't know if I'm having any success or
Getting
not.
leads, yeah.
And that's the question. Where do I start? Well, the first thing is having conversion tracking enabled. And yeah, Tag Manager is where we're at now. It was not the answer a few years ago, but that is the best solution now. Google Tag Manager. is a specific technology tool, whatever you want to call it, that all it does is it's designed to track the happenings on your website. So if you aren't familiar with it, find someone that can help you to implement that.
Yes. Now, the second item, Chris, here, it's a little bit of a loaded question, a little bit of a trick question. Are your search terms supposed to be perfect? If so, are they? So why don't you just get us started here talking about, what a search term is for people that don't know, and then maybe what we mean by perfect.
Right. So a search term is the most basic level of qualifying what you're paying for on google.com. When someone does a search, they have to type words into Google Ads into google.com in order for Google to provide some type of search results. That basic transaction is a peek into that person's mind. Okay. So if they type baby birthday party, pretty much kind of what's on their mind. You know what they're looking for. But if they type custom wedding cake, these are both people that are interested in special events, but you sell wedding cakes. So now suddenly there's a huge difference between baby birthday party and wedding cake. The only way that you can tell the difference between those two clicks, because they are just the same thing, they're still just clicks. The only way you can tell the difference in the value between those clicks is to look at the search terms. And as Jason always talks about, your search terms should be near perfect. They should be absolutely 90, 95%, 99% exactly what you are selling, with some small variances here and there. And if they're not, you're possibly wasting a lot of money here as well.
Well, possibly, and that's the key thing here. So the perfect search term to me is someone doing a search that shows they are looking for what you offer. Not they might be, but they are. So an example would be like a doctor. So if you're a foot doctor, they would be doing a search, foot doctors near me. That shows they are looking for what you offer. If they do a search, doctors in Dallas, and you're in Dallas, well, they might want a foot doctor, but there's plenty of other kind of doctors that they might be looking for, and they might want you, they might not. And a perfect search term is someone that definitely wants what you offer. But the kind of tricky thing here is like, are you set up to, are you supposed to have perfect search terms? And different strategies call for perfect search terms and some don't. So like if you're running a phrase and exact match campaign in terms of your keyword match types, you should have perfect search terms. You're trying to show up on these exact kinds of keywords and searches. So you're targeting phrase and exact. If you're running broad match keywords though, and you're doing like target CPA bidding with only broad match keywords, I would say in that case, perfect search terms, not having them is okay because you're not supposed to have them. If you're going to run broad match keywords, the whole point is to focus on the search, but also the person doing the search and the context around them doing that search and what Google knows about them, and then optimize for what people and searches are getting conversions. And if you're doing all broad match, your search terms are not going to look that pretty sometimes, and that's okay. It's just kind of knowing as a business owner what you're going for. So do you think that's too nuanced for business owners, Chris, or do you think that's a good way to look at it? Like the broad keywords versus the phrase and exact, perfect search terms versus not?
See, well, the way you phrased your question, I mean, I've worked with a lot of people, and you have too, so it's no secret that they may get it, but from hearing it to the translation to the work of what they're trying to accomplish, it is simple, but I don't think that people quite understand level of value and the integrity of one click versus the value of another click. I don't think that people quite get that, but
so if I'm hearing you right, you kind of for small business owners, if they're just starting out, if they're trying to get their Google Ads account dialed in,
no,
you would more focus on forget, is it supposed to be perfect or not? Are you running broad or not? that your answer is no, it is supposed to be perfect, and that's
Yeah.
where you start.
I think the starting place is
Yeah.
try and get the best traffic quality. Do not go for anything outside of bottom of funnel, best quality traffic. Then prove that you can do that.
Mhm.
Then move to other areas and sample outside. But I rarely find people that know how to successfully build a campaign that is true bottom of funnel quality of traffic and show that they can maintain that and understand the metrics and read the dashboard properly. That's that's a problem because they're roofers, they're dentists out there. They're
Mhm.
not Google Ads professionals. So
Yeah, they're not thinking about the context of a broad keyword search and
right.
the searches the person had done before and getting all the maybe they don't have all the conversion tracking in place like we talked about earlier. I think that's a good point. Um, and you can't go wrong with that. Like you cannot go wrong doing the best
Yeah,
thing
there you go.
first, which is deep funnel search terms, people looking for exactly what you offer. Max those out, do a great job at that, and then branch out into target CPA bidding with broad and that kind of stuff. If you're wanting to do it this way, where you kind of do both worlds, but there are a lot of small business owners in here that just throw in some broad keywords, and I think if you have your tracking in place, it's not the worst thing to do. But the key thing is having your tracking in place, so you can make the most of that system. So this next checklist item here, Chris, it's pretty simple, but when a business owner asks, "Can you help me?" I think I'm doing okay already, and they haven't thought about this one. It's a clear sign that they're missing something. So this one would be: are you targeting people in or people in and interested in your location? And so this is an advanced location setting and kind of break down their options, Chris.
Yeah. So in Google Ads, you have to choose your geographic area. And I don't care if you are targeting at a national level or you're targeting at a local city level or just a small 3 or 4 mile radius. The fact is, you have to consider what about the people that are inside and the people that are outside that geographic targeted area. And there's a setting for how you have to approach this. You can either allow people that are searching in your area and are interested in what you're looking for. And what about the people that are outside your area but are searching about your area? Right? You have to make a decision. Do you show? And the easiest way to explain this is let's think about a large metro area. I live near Dallas, so let's just say Dallas. Someone lives outside of Dallas, far north Dallas up in Plano, right? They are no longer in normal city of Dallas area, but they commute in for work. So let's say they might be interested in someone who is a dentist in the Plano area, but they're doing their search from downtown Dallas where they're working. So this would be an instance where you have to, as a business owner, decide, am I interested in those people? And there are settings in Google Ads where you have to make a choice. Do I or do I not include those people? And there's some very specific tactics on how to do that. But on a basic level, you just at least have to make the choice.
Yeah. I think a lot of our international audience might be surprised how much we bring up Dallas because
Yes.
their idea of the United States might be Los Angeles, New York City,
No, I don't know those places.
Miami, maybe.
Yeah.
But people don't understand what's going on in Dallas. It's like
Hot,
very
hot,
hot.
hot
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Hot place.
And so if you're an international listener out there and you come across anyone who's from America, make sure you ask them if they've been to Dallas. Tell them you love
And then
Dallas.
if they've been to Dallas, ask they know Chris Schaefer
Yeah.
because
And
they
they
probably
probably
do.
will say yes.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I don't think there's a wrong answer here in terms of selecting people in versus people in and interested in your location. But the whole point here is that have you thought about it? Have you made that decision? Um, and and we'll kind of leave that one at that. But I think it's not the most consequential decision
Right.
about Google Ads, Chris,
Right.
the most impactful, but at the same time, it's one of those things that it's like such low hanging fruit. Like it's pretty easy to improve your campaign depending which way you want to go with it. That if you haven't looked at that and made that very quick and easy decision that can help you in either direction, depending on your goal, it's just a sign that there is room for improvement if you haven't thought about it.
I think the bigger idea here, Jason, is to go with your thinking here is not necessarily just a simple bidding or geographic targeting change, but to get business owners thinking about what are you not doing? What things are you not considering? I think that's the bigger picture here, because sure, you can go in and change a geographic setting to allow people that are interested in your area but are not within your geographic targeting. Sure, that's simple. That's a one button click. But other things you might consider is what about people that don't search a specific way, that aren't included in my detailed search term traffic, that I'm looking at. So what is outside that 99% perfect search term? What about the other things that are just below the surface that I might not be capturing? That's the whole thinking that we're going for here is, what are you not doing that you may not know about in this? This leads you to think about moving up the sales funnel. If someone's looking for a bakery for custom cakes, what other things might they be looking for or doing searches around before they do that custom bakery near me? What other things they might be searching for that would be higher in the sales funnel. That's the whole idea, to just expose the business owners to the idea that there's probably more out there. And once you conquer the core of what you're looking for, consider what else you might be able to go fishing for outside of that.
Yeah, and there is more out there, Chris. And the way to kind of figure out what's out there is to just what I like doing is just looking through the Google Ads account, look at the settings for the ad groups, look at this account level settings, look at the campaign settings, look at the ad groups. When you look at the search terms report, see what columns you can add. There's a lot you can do there. Go through that middle gray bar in the middle left of the screen and look at every single page. But the tricky thing is, once you start doing that, it can lead to some very bad decisions. And so to kind of mix it up here, a sign that your account could use a professional's help and that, like, there is a lot of room for improvement, I'm going to say, is if there's too many bid adjustments going on, and we're able to make bid adjustments at the device level. So like tablets and mobile versus mobile tablets and desktop, we can make device bid adjustments with something called the calls bid adjustment. Audiences, demographics, ages, locations, schedules. There's a lot of areas where you can say bid 30% more, bid 50% less. And once you start doing that over and over and over in a bunch of different places, to me, that's a sign of potentially a campaign that's not run that well. Chris, I think you might agree with that, but you can speak to why if you do. But do you think too many bid adjustments going on is a bad sign?
Yeah. Jason, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's probably a degree of trying to over-engineer something beyond what it's intended to do.
Yeah.
If you feel like you are looking for such a specific needle in a haystack that you need to set your device bids to negative 62% and your computer bids for positive 15%, and then your age, you have individual bid adjustments for each age bracket, and then income percentage levels, you have different. I absolutely agree. I feel like what the person's trying to do is they're saying, hey, look at me, I'm an automated bid system.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No,
you're not. My favorite is the difference between the 2 p.m. hour and the 1 p.m. hour. And right. Not running during 2 to 3 or bidding down the 2 to 3 p.m. hour by 50%.
1 hour makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, if someone great lead at 1. What time is it? 2:02? Not interested.
That's the thing that people can forget about Google Ads, is that it's keyword based. It's a keyword based product, the search campaigns, and it's search. The keywords are based on search terms, what people actually search. And Chris, I think it's very easy for people to forget that because there's so many options. Because I can tell you, if I'm forgetting it, which I forgot in the last month, and then I was reminded, I was off in Performance Maxland. You should go there, Chris, every now and then. It's fun. but sometimes you got to come back
Yes,
to
you
the
do.
search land
Yeah.
and remember it's all based on searches. And
Yeah.
even a lot of the data and targeting ability of a Performance Max campaign, I think, is based on searches that people do. And then that's how they end up seeing your Performance Max ads everywhere they see them. But it's always good to get back to keywords, get back to searches. And when you start, when you remain in that mindset and get back to it, you start to realize how silly things sound, like bidding differently in the 2 p.m. hour versus the 1 p.m. hour, or bidding differently in this zip code versus that zip code, which are right next to each other. They sound silly based on your own hunches as the business owner, because those are just hunches. It's not based on the data. And then even when you get into the data, oh, well, this zip code's performing better. I can almost guarantee you that you don't
Yeah.
have a big enough sample size to make that decision
Yeah.
in a smart way.
Yeah. Yeah. That it's a great point to bring up about zip codes. I hear that so much about people saying, especially home service companies. They're like, well, these are the real rich neighborhoods that I want to show up in, and it's a handful of maybe 10 zip codes. And they're like, can we do a campaign just for those? And every time I just have to break the news. I'm like, listen, I know that sounds great, but people travel, people move. And when it comes to micro targeting things like that, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to take the good with the bad, and you have to train the system to optimize as best you can with the data that you're getting. And micro targeting stuff like that, I find, is
Yeah.
complete disaster. Does not
There's
work.
valid reasons. Like sometimes certain zip codes people just don't want to do business in. That's fine. Like they're not their kind of customers, or uh, they're just not places they want to go. And especially in these larger metros, different parts of the city are just different. But that's usually a small portion. And it's like if you want to pick out 10 zip codes in a huge metro only that you want to target, you're probably going too small.
Yeah.
And the good news in this case, you mentioned the good and the bad. The good news is that with Google Ads search, even the bad can be profitable. It's
Yep.
just that compared to the good, it seems bad because the good is so amazing. It's like, yeah, you want to get in front of people with 5,000 square foot homes only if you're a mover and make the bunch of money from those moves. But guess what? That's only 10% of your moves on average. So
Mhm.
when you spend your marketing budget, do you want to just get 10% of the moves possible? Or do you want to get all the moves possible and make sure they're all profitable? That's kind of where you want to get to as a Google Ads advertiser, I think.
And before we go to our break, let me ask you, Jason. Every time I ask you, I know what the answer is going to be. I don't ever ask you questions I don't know. Not anymore, at least. I've known you too long to ask open-ended questions that I don't know what the answer is going to be,
It's a good
because
one,
it's going to
Chris.
be something that I'm just off the wall. So
Yeah.
do you get you? I'm sure you get people that ask you, "Hey," just some obscure example. Hey, we're a bakery, and we just got a call from a school that wants to buy cupcakes for their whole teacher. Like, all the teachers, they're doing a teacher appreciation. They want to buy 300 cupcakes for everybody in the administration and the teachers and everything. Can you start targeting people that want to buy cupcakes for teachers in bulk of 300 or more? Can we try and get more of those? That Things like that is what happens when you allow for variance outside of just 10 zip codes. What I'm saying is you will never stumble on situations where you
Right.
come across an amazing opportunity if you are micro niching down to bid adjustments on top of bid adjustments on top of bid adjustments, where you basically have filtered this to just a select few of things that will trickle through, and you leave no variance for other opportunities to come through. Because you'll never be able to find that client that wants to buy 300 cupcakes for all the teachers in the school district unless you target on a wider scale and allow some variance in that area.
Yeah. That's a good point with zip codes, but for more of the professionals out there like us, it's also a good point with keywords and search terms. Like,
Yeah,
I think one of
there you
the
go.
pitfalls of that professionals can fall into is they can see some beautiful, very, very deep in the funnel, very clear what the person means with their search terms, and think, oh, I'm just going to only show on those because those are amazing. And we
Yep.
know those are amazing. But at the same time, people search for a lot of different things in general ways. So like for a moving company, there's some great searches out there, White Glove Moving Company in Dallas, but there's also Dallas moving companies, and literally the person doing the Dallas moving company search could be a billionaire with like a 20,000
Yep.
square foot house. They could
Never
be.
know. Yep.
And a lot of people search for things in very, very common ways. So brings us full circle here. You track your conversions, make sure you're getting a profitable cost per conversion, and then you might get surprised with some big wins sometimes
And
from
that's
some common
and,
searches.
and Jason, how many millionaires, billionaires out there do searches that say, go to google.com and type, I am a millionaire and I need a mover?
None. Yeah.
Zero. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. People don't define their searches like that. They don't identify themselves like that when they're doing searches. That's not the case. You have to be
and
leading.
beyond that, how many of them have their assistant who's in the 30 to 40% of income instead of the top 10 do the search for them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good point.
And I mean, we're stumbling onto something here, Chris, which I've been thinking about a little bit lately. And we'll talk about it during this break that's coming up. We'll actually talk to each other this week during the break instead of
nice.
just looking at each other in a disgruntled fashion.
Almost done.
Yeah, and then we come back and we act like we had a good time. But no, the breaks are really rough these days with me,
Yeah,
Chris.
they
We
are.
need a little intervention here to do a little team building. No, we're kidding. We can still kid about ourselves, Chris.
Come on. Nobody stays together this long just because there's money and contracts involved.
Chris, I genuinely like you still. But Chris, my point is here, we're stumbling onto something here. I've come up with some Google Ads strategies lately. One of the terms I'm using for this is isolate and dominate. And we'll kind of flesh this out in an upcoming episode, I think. I'll make a note on that. But I really like this strategy I've come up with called isolate and dominate. And one of the mindset factors behind that strategy is like you can't do all the cool stuff with Google Ads, like have an account with 5 Performance Max campaigns, which I do in one of them, in addition to a bunch of search. You can't do that unless you're profitable on search, on the core stuff. And so the whole mindset is to get profitable with everything you do with Google Ads, and that profit allows you to add budget to explore and try a bunch of different things. But the whole point is don't try a bunch of different things until you've tried kind of the meat and potatoes. And honestly, I forgot where we were going with that, but
it was good. Perfect transition. We will be right back.
Correct me during the break.
Yeah. Welcome back. We are going to conclude this episode with some more information about how you can improve your Google Ads campaigns. But first, I want to remind you about Optio. It is a critical time of year. It is getting into the big shopping time of the season. I want to talk to those of you that are running e-commerce campaigns out there. There is hardly a faster moving industry than e-commerce when it comes to November, December of the year. And it is critically important that you do things right. And there is a tool out there, if you're barely just hanging by your shoestrings here on profitability, you can't necessarily afford to bring in a super expensive agency or even hire someone, freelance or something like that, some cheaper thing. You need something that's going to provide impact but have very little cost, and Optio is a great solution for you to step into, a way to improve your campaign piece by piece and still maintain control and still get more done with your day. I want to invite all my e-commerce listeners to go to optio.com/PSP for a 2-month free trial of the greatest Google Ads software under the sun.
Okay, thanks, Chris, and thanks for straightening me out during the break. You kind of reminded me where we were going. We actually did talk during the break for the first time in a long time. It was nice. It was nice, to be honest. Yeah, it was nice. Felt good. I previewed the isolate and dominate strategy. Did you like it, Chris?
I did. I subscribed.
So one of my favorite things to do here on the podcast is have an episode inside an episode. No, I'm kidding,
Oh
Chris.
boy.
But this last topic here, it's not a neat little fit like the other ones. Like it's not something minor, but it's asking yourself, are you targeting all the services you want to be targeting? And that's something I come across with small business owners, Chris, who think they might need a Google Ads manager, but they're not sure. One of the common problems that I help that group of people with is figuring out ways to advertise for all the services that they do that they want to advertise for versus just one. A lot of people in this kind of mindset of the business owner who thinks they might need help, but thinks it's going pretty good, but isn't really sure, but is still having that inclination to reach out, is that they're only targeting one of the services they do, and that bothers them, and they want to target for other things. Have you run into that before?
Yeah. There are many instances where, and I think I said it already, where the person doesn't know what they don't know. So there's no way for you to understand what you don't see about your business. Let me give a perfect example. There is nothing more eye opening than bringing in a consultant, like a business consultant, like an independent business consultant, and looking at your business process and saying, wow, there's a huge hole right here. There's a huge issue right here. Or why don't you do this? And when they explain it to you, you realize, oh my God, I've never seen that. The same thing can happen whenever you, as the business owner, are looking at your business and trying to understand how to advertise, and you realize, I'm thinking about it on this super 100 times zoomed in type of view. But if I back out and think about it as a customer, as a consumer, as someone who's not dedicated to this kind of thing 100% of the time, I just completely missed opportunities on keywords that I'm not running. You don't realize that there are services, there's ways that people are looking for things like this that you just don't even consider. And you don't even know what you're missing because you just don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of them they dial in something that's working okay, and then I think they're fearful to branch out from that and add on that second service.
Mm-hmm.
So, if what is the fix for that? If you are out there with say like a 1,000 to 3,000, $4,000 budget a month, you're a small business owner, you're only advertising for one service that you offer, and you want to add on a second one. What do you do, Chris? Do you have to add more budget? Do you do two campaigns? Is it an ad group thing? What would your mindset be there?
I mean, assuming they don't seek professional help from someone like my friend Jason, um, the fact is you're going to have to do the work yourself. You're going to have to dive in and figure out identify what is it that the person, that the people are looking for, that they're still interested in you, but they aren't represented in the keywords that you have now. You need to be able to do some research, and easiest go-to answer is to look at the search terms. Look at those search terms and study those search terms to try and understand what things are people searching for? What is the tone? What's the education level of the industry that people are searching for? Are they using super educated terms exclusively? What about the people who don't know about those educated terms? Do you have a campaign for them as well? What about the people who don't use geographic terminology and search for things like best blank company near me? Stuff like that. Are you targeting the near me stuff? Are you targeting the non-geographic targeted things? There's so many angles that you can move and rotate this whole picture. And in the end, you have a whole porcupine of different tactics that are poking in and trying to drive traffic to your site from all these different angles.
Yeah, and I think it's very hard to give advice on that one, Chris, or to even know where to start because every industry is different. But I think my mindset whenever we're adding a second service to the targeting is just to break it down into a few different things. So, like number one, if it's a different page on your website you're going to take people to, well, now you've made it a little easier on yourself. It's a different ad group. It goes in a different ad group because the ad group is tied to the ad and the ad the page that the ad takes people to. if you want to talk about a different campaign versus just having a different ad group, how do you think about money when you advertise on these two services? Would you be looking at doing this with a different budget, taking some budget, but do you, for your own mind as a business owner, do you break it out into kind of a separate budget in your own mind when you think about spending money on those two services? That would put you in a second campaign. And then as far as the keywords go, you can't go wrong with that deep funnel, near me, geo stuff, people searching for exactly what you offer, the exact kind of business you are. And if you want to start small, you can start exact and phrase match. If you want to go a little wider, you can do the broad keyword thing, but you got to make a choice if you have a limited amount of budget. And that's how I would be thinking about that. Final thing I'd say is just start. Like, I don't like when people don't advertise what they want to advertise on, Chris. And I think
Yeah.
just set up a second campaign, set up another ad group, do something, but just start. And once you start, like you're saying, Chris, you'll start to see the search terms that come in, and that will lead to other ideas as opposed to just sitting there and thinking about it without doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yep. Well, hopefully, this has been a non intimidating discussion on how to get more out of your Google Ads, how to know if you are doing it right, and some triggers to inspire some thinking. So thank you, Jason, for the advice on this. I think everything well said and explained, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. Jason, if they'd like a little more of you, where can they do that?
Well, yeah, I'd be humbled and honored by that. I'm just a guy from Adelaide, and I just happen to start doing this. And some say I'm the best in the world, but I just like doing it week to week, Chris. So Rothman PPC is where I am. What about you, Chris?
I'm at chrisschaefer.com. There are links to both of our sites in the description. We're both independent consultants in Google Ads. There's no tie in here. Feel free to reach out to one or both, and appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time.